I kind of feel like we need a bit of... In fact, let's go back old school, shall we? Let's see what we need. We need this. Oh yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Romy, the Willow Tree, here on Sunflower FM. Still love this tune. Let's be honest, how many of you actually listen to the in-game music? Do you know what? There's times I don't normally, but there are times when I put it on and I'm like, oh, such a classic. Interesting. Okay, let's jump into this, ladies and gentlemen. There's a few things we want to cover today. The first thing that we're going to cover, and I'll get the docs updated for this later on today. Adam's made some incredible changes to the docs. We're going to talk through that today. We're going to very quickly talk about the traveling salesman. If you notice on your farm, just to the top left of the shop in Sunflower Town, there is a new gentleman. And when you click on him, he says, "Greetings, friend. I travel all over these lands collecting items to trade. What I have to you will only be on offer today. Or sorry, what I have to offer you today will only be available until the 30th of June. Let's trade." And so what he's offering you today is the ability to be able to purchase a chicken. If you do not have your 5 SFL, but you really want a chicken to get you into the egg game, the egg empire, this fluffy egg producer who lays eggs when fed will cost you. And you have to buy, I believe that's, what I want to do, and I've actually put in a request for this, is that when you hover over the crops, when they're not labeled, it will actually tell you what those crops are. Because at the moment, you'd actually have to go to the shop, you'd have to look on the cell, and you'd be able to see that you need beetroots and you need carrots. Is anybody saying that can anybody hear me? Because some people are saying they can't hear me. Let me just double check in the chat. Everything is working. Yep, you can hear me now. If you can't hear me, so this is just for the people that can't hear me right now. Just turn on your speakers. If you can't hear me, turn on your speakers. Okay, for everyone that can hear me. For everyone that can hear me, just don't worry, just carry on. Unmute your ears, yes. Okay, just for the people that can't hear me. Oh dear. All good fun, all good fun. Right, so the traveling salesman. The ability here is, this is a feature to allow you to get into the game if you're struggling. So for those people that are struggling with the SFL, this is a way that you can create through some quite easy, let's be honest, it's not going to be too hard for you. Carrots, if you were to go and buy the carrot seeds, they take an hour. Okay, you need 20 of those, so you can do that within an hour. If you want the beetroots, take a little bit longer. Okay, I think you're talking about, maybe, is it 3.5 hours, I believe, for the beetroots. But again, still not too bad. And you can do that all in about 4 hours time. Oh, it's 4 hours for the beetroots, is it? Okay, so all in all, 4 to 5 hours, you'll be able to create your crops. It's just 2 cycles, one of each, and you'll be able to get those. So with that being said, this is going to change based on events, based on things that are going on at the time. He'll go away, he'll come back. But this is just a new addition to the game. It's also starting to introduce us to new NPCs that we're going to be able to interact with. We're going to have a few of these in the game. In fact, when we go into land expansion, one of the NPCs is going to be like your guide, and you're going to be able to talk to him a lot. So you're going to have to get used to these characters. There's going to be quite a few of them in the game. But let's just head over to the other side of Sunflower Town right now, to the right-hand side, just below the kitchen. You see how the traveling salesman is by the shop, so they're connected. And you see how this new Cake stand is next to the kitchen, so they're kind of in the same area. So the cake stand, if you click on it right now, everything is hidden, but we can see there is a cake collection. We can see we've got the sunflower cake, a ray of sunshine on your taste buds. Sounds nice. We can see we have the potato cake. Soothe your body with this delicious treat. We can see there's the pumpkin cake, which is a treat for goblins. There is a carrot cake, which is a rabbit's favourite. We've got the cabbage cake, which is an ancient human recipe. We've got the beetroot cake, which is a romantic treat. Not sure I'm going to be kissing anyone that's eaten that. That sounds disgusting, but hey, each to your own. You do you. The cauliflower cake, poisoned or poisonous if baked for too long. A bit like anything I cook, to be honest. The parsnip cake, an ancient goblin recipe. We've got the radish cake, which is a bitter cake but loved by animals. And the wheat cake, whole grain wheat cake, which is the ultimate farmer's treat. Now, what's going to happen? And this has been brought up recently. What's with the price in the cake preview? Is that the selling price? So, just to throw you off a little bit, you can ignore those prices. Remember what we said from the start, and this is important, and it's the same now. The What you're seeing in terms of the prices on the screen is a placeholder. This will be the price that you will be able to sell your cakes for. However, I'm going to tell you this now. That is not the final price that you'll be able to sell these cakes for. It's just a placeholder. So please, and we've said this before, and I want to say it again, do not make assumptions until it's live, because the prices will change when it goes live. Okay? Please don't make assumptions on what you're seeing as this being final. This is just a placeholder right now, but that will be the SFL that you will receive for your cakes, but that's not the final amount. Okay, so when this goes live, you can expect it to change. But what I can tell you is that the SFL that you can sell your cake for will be more, than if you were to craft the ingredients. And so what's going to happen here is two things. One, you're going to be able to sell cakes, and those cakes that you sell, you'll be able to sell for a profit, or you can hold your cakes until you have all 10 for a bigger reward. Now, I will find out. I do not know the answer to this right now, but I will find out how many cakes you can craft. I do not know. I do not know. I will find out and I will let you know. Um, I will get back to you on that one. Okay, so I'm going to find out that answer and I'm going to let you know. Steve, can we get an actual character to play with on Sunflower Land? I think it's kind of annoying to do. Okay, sorry, Steve. Can we get an actual character to play with on Sunflower Land? I think it's kind of annoying doing things by click, and it would be a nice idea to add some NFT items to our character, like clothes and something like that. Interesting. So I think it's kind of annoying doing things by click. Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Okay, so you're saying have a character that moves around the farm. Um, I think there's a lot of people that like the fact that you can click around and do things that because you are the character in a sense. So I don't know if there'll be like a character that moves around the farm, possibly in the future. Possibly in the future, we'll have a look into that. But there is some stuff I want to talk to you about regarding the character, and we're going to talk about it now. I've got some things to show you as well that you're gonna. If you haven't seen this yet, I think you're going to enjoy this. Okay, so I'm going to post some things into the farmers chat. Also, let me just answer this from Nando. Hey, Steve, could the cakes possibly? Let me have a look at this question here. Could the cakes possibly also have an update with the arrival of the bees and cows, adding milk to the ingredients, and when pigs the bacon arrives, a bacon cake? Interesting. Absolutely, 100%. There's so much utility that can be added to this game in the future as the game evolves, and as more game loops are added. Then yes, 100%. you will be able to have a lot more available to you. Can we have our cake and eat it too? I think we should, right? I think we should. Henrique says the team is killing it. Oh my god, so many updates. Thanks for everything. The game is the best out there for miles. You're welcome. So what I would say is that, and I've noticed this. So if any of you are playing Million on Mars at the moment, you'll notice that they are pushing out updates so quickly, so many. It's becoming a little bit overwhelming with how much there is to do. And I'm starting to see now that if I don't play the game for a few days, I lose track. And it's very difficult. And I think it's very, very important that whilst we do bring out updates for this game, it's done in a way that doesn't harm the core game loop so that people can just continue enjoying the game if they want to. And those that want to expand and learn about the updates, they can also do that. But I think that the two things need to work in such a way that the general user base does not get overwhelmed, when a new update comes out. So yeah, I think it's really good to have updates. But if you look at traditional games, they do have updates. But often when you buy a traditional game, you buy the traditional game. That's it. I think when you have your core game loops, they're in place. And so I think what we need to do is we need to ensure that when we do the updates, they're in addition to the core game loop, and not replacing it. And I think what we're seeing, and we've seen a lot of this with Million on Mars at the moment, is they're still building out their core game loops, and that's why we get a lot of this overwhelm. And it's not a bad thing because what you're seeing at the moment, this is a sign of just being early. When you're early to a game, what you have is this continuous evolving of, or this evolution of the game, and we're seeing that a lot at the moment with these new features that are coming in. So what I really want to do right now is take you over and talk about some of these new features and these core game loops that you can expect. So if you look over on the docs at the moment, and I'm going to post this into the farmers chat so you can see it, there is a whole new section that has gone live today. This section is called game design. Okay, and there's a lot of things here that you're going to be able to talk about. In fact, let me just post an image. I think we need to get some love on this image. This is one of the images that we're going to talk about today inside game design, inside the gameplay loops, and this is going to be for the farmer. So we're going to talk about this today. So Adam and the team have been working with designers to talk through and look at what your farmer profile picture could look like. And this is the farmer profile picture. You're going to need to make a choice as to whether you're a farmer or a goblin. So let's talk through this today. We're going to look at the game design. So if you're on the docs section under contributing in game design, this is what we're going to look at. Hopefully you'll see that the docs has started to evolve a lot. We've got a lot of new sections. It's been rebuilt. And right now we're looking at this contributing section. So let me just talk about this right now. The purpose of this section is to outline the core game mechanics of Sunflower Land and the game design process. We believe in transparency, and players deserve to know how the game is being built and the future plans. The goal of this section is to 1. Align the core team and contributors on the game's vision. 2. Outline the game design methodology and processes we use. 3. Provide consistent guidelines for narrative, theme, and aesthetics. And 4. Give transparency to players around the future of the game. We believe a community deserves full transparency into a game that they are investing their time. However, do not make game or financial decisions based on this document. The game design document is a live document. This means that details may and will change as we learn and grow. I cannot stress enough that we are evolving and we are learning and we are building very quickly, and sometimes we will get things wrong. That will happen. But let me just say this. if we're not making mistakes, then we're not pushing hard enough. If we're so safe, and if we're so, like, I can't stress, if we're so safe that we're not making mistakes, then we're not pushing ourselves hard enough. Thank you for introducing the female farmers. This game has an unusually high ratio of female farmers compared to most things in crypto. I do love that, and I agree. I think this is a a farming simulator in a game that has very much gender equality of all of the games that I've seen out there in a very male dominated crypto space. So if you identify as a helicopter, don't worry, there'll be that option for you as well. Um, at the moment, there's going to be the ability to identify as a farmer or a goblin. Well, how about we get an LGBTQ flag? Because I don't believe we have that yet, and I think that needs to exist. Also, what I really love the idea of is having. Now, maybe you can help educate me here. Maybe you can help educate me because as an old man, I'm a 40-year-old British white, tr- just just I'm the minority these days. Let's be honest, but everything that I've grown up in a very sheltered life, and I've grown up in a very protected environment. I had loving parents that sheltered me from the world, and so when I was growing up, I didn't understand about uh, racism. I didn't understand about all of the things that are going on in the world. They didn't exist to me. And so I've had to learn them through social media and a lot of other things. And there's a lot of things I still don't understand. And so maybe you can help me, chat. If we were to create flags and maybe have a male, like you have like the symbols for the male and the female. Are there other symbols? Are there other symbols that can be used if people don't identify as a male or a female? What symbols do they use to identify? I think we definitely need a chicken flag. That I agree. If you identify as a chicken, and I know that some of our core team do identify as a chicken, um, but I would love, I would love to have from you, the community, some concepts around some flags that we can make and that we can add to the game. Maybe we can have a tractor flag. Maybe we can have a chicken flag. So, would somebody please take ownership of this? And would somebody create a list of flags with some concepts that I can present to the core team? I'd be happy not to have all this gender stuff discussed in a game. Okay, I think that's a valid point as well. I think that's a valid point. And one of the things that we've said from day one is that we're not going to talk about politics or religion. And this is going to be a place where you can come to escape from all of that. So I think it's also a good idea, Kay, that this is a place. No, no, and you're absolutely right. This is not offending anybody. This is a conversation, and we're able to have these conversations. I do think it's great and it's important for people to be able to have things they can identify to. But I also agree that this is a place to come and get away from that. So I think we can do both. I think that we can have some flags if people want them, but also this is a way where also we don't have to go too deep into it. And as Chicken says, the best way would be to not choose a gender and to have something that's gender neutral. And that way it works in both instances. So I think these are great conversations. These are great conversations to be able to decide. Like, this is your game. And when we talk about transparency, and look, we've just mentioned about getting things right and getting things wrong. If we went down the road of having these gender-based flags, would that be wrong? Because would that bring in a discussion that we want to keep out of this to keep it a safe space? So I do love the idea of a chicken flag. We absolutely need a chicken flag. We absolutely need a tractor. I agree with those. And I think we need a rainbow flag. I don't think there's anything wrong with a rainbow flag. But I like the idea that the community is saying having a gender neutral idea for this. We have the rainbow flag. Is that in there? I didn't think that had been added. Let me just double check that in the tailors. Have I missed Have I missed that? Because I don't have it on my farm. That's been added already. I didn't even notice that one. It must have slipped by me. We do have the rainbow flag. It is there. Love that. Love that. So, yes, I definitely think that we'll be building out the flag sections. That's something we can have in the future. We need a 420 flag. Lots of cool options there. Right, let's get back to looking at the game design. So, what is Sunflower Land? Sunflower Land is an open ended town building game where every resource is tokenized on the blockchain. It is a casual genre with non crypto natives as the target audience. Here are some unique selling points. Everything is tokenized. There were some conversations in the chat yesterday about why is this, and some people saying that the developers have made a mistake doing this. Well, I disagree. I think if you're going for a truly decentralized game that has full ownership, then it's important to have everything tokenized. And it brings its own challenges as a result. Community owned aspect amplified by Web3 adoption identities. Real world market interactions and decisions. Okay. Real world market interactions and decisions. Low barrier to entry and simplicity that NFT games lack. Here's what we're seeing. Everybody at the moment is trying to create the next most complicated, most detailed game. And we saw this a lot with the value proposition in business. So, one of the things we saw in business is that people, and we see this a lot with lawyers. If you know of any lawyers or if you've ever dealt with a lawyer, they use things. There was a term that was brought in called legalese, where legal contracts would be so overwhelmingly difficult to read, they would use the language that would confuse you. And the reason for that is that you would need a lawyer to understand the document itself. Now, in business, this happened where people would literally justify their own existence by creating something so complicated that you needed to hire them to understand it. And also, there was a belief that the more complicated something was, the more value that was added to that thing. Here, what we're doing is saying we don't want to make that complexity. We don't want you to value our product by the complexity of it. We actually feel like, and I believe it was Einstein that quoted this, the the I'm trying to think of the quote and I don't know it and I can't find it, but I believe that it was Einstein and I'm going to butcher this quote, so please I apologize if I get it wrong. But it is that in simplicity, okay, simplicity is its own complexity. So if you can make something so simple, there's a level of complexity that's needed to make something simple. And the idea is that you need to make something simple enough that everyone can get it. And that takes time, that takes effort. So, and this one as well, we cannot solve our own problems with the same thinking we use to create them. I love that. Another great saying. So, this is what we're going to be looking at is how can we create some very simple core game loops that have a layer of depth to them, but that indeed use this KISS mentality of keeping it simple, silly. Yeah, so this is what we're looking at, and the very well said by a few people in the community. Blur was one of them. Keeping it simple, the KISS mentality, is one of them that we want to keep here because it's important. If you're looking at a game for mass adoption for non-crypto natives, then simplicity is key. KISS is also a rock band from the 1980s. Over a player's timeline, the game gives more freedom to a player in a direction of their town. Okay, so this is what choices does a player make? Oh, sorry, no, I've missed a section. Let me go back up. What is the experience we want a player to have? Sorry, let me go through this first. The new player embarks on a quest of discovery and accomplishment as they expand land, discover new resources, buildings, and items. A player develops a sense of pride in the progress they have made, rare items they collect, towns they design, and characters they develop. This is amplified by the social aspect of the game and community driven nature of the Web3 project. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, chat. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel a little bit sad for you right now because as beta testers, and there's 150,000 of you, of beta testers, you've kind of been spoiled. You've been given a sandbox version of this game that kind of gives you access to everything. And that's not how it's going to be in the future. People are going to discover this game. They're going to go through this game and uncover things as they go. And a lot of these things you already have. And so the gameplay element of the discovery and the uncovering, and you'll still get this. You will still get this. But understand that a lot of the items that you already have, those items are kind of going to be rare and unique to you. Some of you aren't even able, and we had this conversation around the golden egg. Why can't we increase the supply? Because they're kind of rare and unique to the version 1 players that have them, with a small quantity available for version 2. But as people go into public release, a lot of these items, they're just not going to be available. And so people aren't going to be able to get things like the chicken coop, the golden egg, the Christmas tree. These are going to be kind of legacy items almost that you'll look back upon and think, wow, I wish I had that. Thus, we believe there will be value for these on the secondary markets. But don't misunderstand that when this game goes public, there's going to be thousands of NFTs. Okay. Hi, Steve. Would it be possible to have an input bar where we can enter the name of crops we want to sell instead of choosing between one and all? Yes, that is coming. What do you think about integration farms where we can play games and interact with your friend's farm? We are lacking interactions on farms. Yes, that is coming. That is coming. There are going to be ways that you can interact with other farmers, and there's also going to be the ability for you to bulk select crops. And there's actually 2 different proposals for this already in the GitHub. Is it possible that one day the seller asks for something else other than vegetables? Anything is possible. Anything is possible. The level of our farm will be added when the game is aired public, right? So there will be 2 different levels. Okay, there's 2 different levels, and we're going to talk about this today. I want you to understand 2 of the different gameplay loops: the farmer and the land. Your farmer will have skill levels that you will progress, XP, experience. Okay, so your farmer will progress with experience, and your land will progress with expansion. So every time you expand your land, it gains a level. And every time you level up your farmer's experience, you will gain a level. But please understand that they are different. If you were to sell your farmer, you would still have your land. If you was to sell your land, you would still have your farmer. They are 2 separate NFTs. And they will thus have the levels associated to each of them. Okay, so the key motivations of a player are: 1. Achievement. Unlocking new levels, characters, buildings, and resources. 2. Creativity. Expressing your identity via crafting, customization, and design of land and NFT profile pictures. 3. Social. Collaboration and desire for belonging in a community. These are the 3 motivations that we're working on within the game. I can't tell you how excited I am to be working on this game with the team that have an aligned vision and a community that gets it. This is such an incredible space. And I know there's some frustration that things are taking a while, but you have to understand that to put all of this together takes time. There's a lot going on. And so while some of you are waiting for some things like some NFT releases and you want some leaks on stuff that's coming up, you just have to be patient. Okay, so let's have a look at what choices does a player make. Over a player's timeline, the game gives more freedom to a player in the direction of their town. The key choices we want a player to make are: short-term wins versus long-term investments. Does a player take a quick reward or invest into their town, i.e. building upgrades to ensure future prosperity? I think we're going to do this with the cakes as kind of a social experiment. I believe that you'll only be able to create 1 cake. I believe. I need to check. I haven't got the answer, but I believe that it would be a good social experiment to only allow people to create one cake. Because this is the do you want the short term win or the long term investment? Are you going to sell your cake on day one to get some quick SFL? Or are you going to save up your cakes for 10 weeks? This is a good introduction. I would also say, Kay, that the leveling up of your tools at the moment is not important. Do not worry about focusing on the current XP of your farmers because that will migrate into the new system. So please, please, please do not think that by rushing out right now and leveling up your XP, it's going to be beneficial for you. It won't matter. It does not matter. It will cross over into the later version of the game, but it will probably translate into the new version. So don't worry. I'm telling you now, that is not something you need to ape into. Like, you do not need to worry about leveling up. Will it be a 10-week cycle or truly random? It will be a 10-week cycle. So once a week, a cake will appear. We just don't know which cake. The cakes will be available for a week. You can make the cake for a week. Hey, Steve, can you explain more about Goblin Village Quest? Because it takes a huge amount of SFL and time. Is it worth it? I would say that the bigger the quest, the more it is worth it. But it's up to you. It's not for everyone, but for those that are involved. Those that miss out will want to be involved, and those who are involved will be glad they did. But at the same time, I can't tell you any more about that at the moment. There's an element that I want you to. I know we're talking about transparency right now, but there's also an element of gameplay where I want you to enjoy the gameplay. Let's just say that a war is brewing. You're going to need to pick a side, and this is part of that narrative. So if you're going to be involved in the war that's coming up, you're going to need a weapon. And let's just say that if you do that quest, you get to pick a weapon. There's a goblin sword or a mighty hammer. Okay, so emergent. Let's have a look at this. What choices does a player make? We've just talked about the short-term wins or the long-term investment. Specialization. Focus on food production or SFL production, or indeed animals. We've already seen this where you choose between the green farm or the animal wrangler. And so the idea that you're going to be able to pick your specialization. Are you going to be focused on crop production? Are you going to be focused on raising animals? Are you going to be focused on economy? What is going to be your focus in the game? Because at the end of the day, if you've got all of this SFL, but then you can't use it for anything because you haven't specialized in any other area, you're going to struggle. Also, if you've got nothing but crops, but you don't know how to do anything else, you're going to struggle. So, what we'll need or what we'll see is that farmers will start leaning into the marketplace for people that produce food. You won't if you're an animal farmer, you probably won't produce wheat. You'll buy it. And then you'll offset that against the money that you'll make selling your crop, your animals, or the produce from your animals. And if you're a baker, you probably won't worry about farming as a baker. You'll just buy um, the materials you need to bake your cakes and then sell the cakes or the other items in the kitchen. So you can be a chef, you can be involved with animals, you can be a farmer. There's going to be lots of different routes of specialization that you can take within this game. Risks on scarcity. Time and stock limited items that the player must decide whether to craft resources immediately or wait, assuming they will have time in the future to craft it. This is where the FOMO kicks in. And we see this already with a lot of these items. Identity. What items to collect for your land and your PFP that represent your identity within the community? So, emergent gameplay. Each crypto asset is owned by a player and can be freely traded on markets outside of the game if the player wishes. This is expected to evolve into emergent gameplay and strategies developing outside of the initial design. Traditional games lack this feature, and it is something we want to embrace. We want to take the game outside of the game. Or, sorry, let me rephrase that. We want to take the gameplay outside of the game. We want to take the gameplay onto OpenSea. We want to take the gameplay onto Rarible. When these platforms figure themselves out, and they will, they'll figure themselves out, and when they do, we want the idea of them being able to work with us like what we did with Million on Mars. We want to take the game outside of the game. We want these cross-platform quest event styles that make you go and interact with other communities, with other platforms. We want to get you out into the real world. What we're going to do is we're going to create Pokemon Go for Sunflower Land. So the idea is you'll have to take your phone out and find sunflowers in the real world. Some of you won't make this. This is very tough. This is going to be very difficult. Some of you will struggle. But we're going to get you to interact with real people and go and have a real life. It's not for everyone. But there is an element of this game that is really going to be about kind of getting you to look outside of the game. Because decentralization is about having this ability to take your assets from one game and put them in another, or take them from one platform and put them in another. Not the kind of grass you're thinking about, Zil. Okay, so just looking through the farmers chat, some really good conversations going. We've got nearly 200 of you on the call here, so really grateful you're all here, by the way. Who have we not tagged in a while? Let's do a tag. We haven't done a tag in a while. Let's all tag Romy. Let's all say hi, Romy. We can tag him. Sure, he won't mind. Let's all give Romy a tag. He'll love that when he wakes up. He'll absolutely love that. All right, let's go on to the next section here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to look at the user journey. Our user journey focuses on the aspect of a non-crypto native interested in the game. Once we nail that experience, we will see real mass adoption. I want you to understand that for real mass adoption, we need to consider a few things. One is simplicity. We need simplicity for mass adoption. We need a stickiness that makes people want to come back for more, and they have to be excited about the game. So, is there any questions so far on the game design that we've talked about? Anything you want to cover? What I'm going to do is just move the chat onto the screen so that for the purpose of the recording, people can see this. Okay, so now we've got the chat. We can see the chat and also what we're talking about as well. Perfect. Okay, so let's look at game design. The purpose of this section is to outline the core game mechanics of Sunflower Land and the game design process. Oh, no, we've talked about that. We're on user journey. Our user journey focuses on the aspect of a non-crypto native interested in the game. Once we nail that experience, we will see real mass adoption. So first we start with learning. A player begins with a single piece of land in a vast ocean. We want to evoke a sense of awe and urge the expansion of their land. By the end of the learning stage, a player should understand the core game loops and be onboarded into Web3. The time frame for this is going to be their first 5 pieces of land. This is roughly 1 week. Now, we talked about this. We talked about this before. And the idea about this is that you will first go through what is tutorial mode. Now, we talked about tutorial mode. It's now called the learning phase. The learning phase. So in the learning phase, when you start, you're going to... I just like the fact that someone wants a cabbage pole. I just can't wait to build that into the game. We absolutely need that. In fact, I'm going to pin that just so I don't forget it. We need that. We need that in the game. Okay, so a player begins with a single piece of land in a vast ocean. Have you seen the images of this? Have you seen what we've shown you? In fact, I'm going to show you a little trick right now on your farm. I learnt this yesterday. If you go to your farm and you're logged into your farm, okay, you have your URL. This is the URL. Okay, this is the URL of my farm. Okay, so you have your URL of your farm. If you change the word farm to land, change the word farm to land, what you will see as a result of that, okay, what you will see as a result of that, if you change the word farm to land, you'll see this. Oh, something's getting closer. There's some alpha for you. So, some people are just starting to realize you haven't lost everything. Click on your items. It's all still there. It's all still there. GG farm deleted. Did I just get you to control alt delete your land? Lol. So this is a concept. This is a concept. And remember that we move forward, when we move forward, what you currently understand to be your farm, what right now you think is your farm, will no longer be your farm. I just want you to take a moment and really understand what this means. Your current farm that is your farm now will no longer be your farm. Your farm will be your land. That will be your farm. And what is currently your farm will be the town. This will be the community town. Okay, let me break this down. Imagine there are 3 different areas that you can visit. There is Goblin Village, which we know. There is Sunflower Town, and there is your farm. At the moment, your farm is connected to Sunflower Town. Your farm is on the left, and Sunflower Town is on the right. What will happen with land expansion is your farm will no longer be on the left, it will just be Sunflower Town, and your farm you will build with land expansion. If you received a DM from Lisbon saying it was Adam, it is not legit. Do not answer DMs. In fact, the best thing you can do right now, and the thing that I recommend, is to right click on the icon on the far left hand side of Discord, go down to privacy settings, and turn off allow direct message from server members. No admins or moderators will DM you. People will pretend to be us. Although I have no idea why someone would want to pretend to be me. I don't recommend it. Okay, so I want you to understand this concept. What you currently know to be your farm, what you currently know to be your farm, will no longer be your farm. Okay? You will have your land. This will become your farm. And you will have the town, which will be the community area, and you will have the Goblin Village. I'm not talking about mutant crops. Not today. That's not the purpose of this. For mutant crops, you just need to be patient. You need to wait. Okay, so let's have a look and let's talk about the core game loops. Farming and resource collection. Okay, this is in a learning phase. The first thing you're going to do, and if you was on the call with us yesterday, you would understand how this is starting to be built. The idea that you will be able to do some basic foraging. You'll have a bush, you'll have a pebble. You'll start off and you'll be able to acquire very small amounts of resources. And as you progress, you'll unlock your workbench where you can start to craft tools. You'll start to pebble is a very funny word. You'll start to uncover new items like the tree and the stone, the axe and the pickaxe. You'll be able to craft resources. You'll get your building where you'll upgrade your skill. And so that's where land expansion comes in. So using the resources that you gather initially to expand your land. And in the first few levels in learning, we don't want you to be able, like, you're not going to be able to sit at level 1 and craft a million SFL. Like, that's not going to happen. The idea is that there'll be a limited supply that will be just enough to force you into land expansion. So we kind of give you that direction. Character leveling, using food to upgrade your characters. So there'll be XP gates where you'll have to farm a certain amount of crops to get to a certain XP level. But then what will happen is you'll need to bake a cake or a certain recipe. There'll be resources required for you to level up your character, which will be in a requirement of food. The way that we've done that right now with the goblins is you needed to feed the goblins to be able to level up your farm. Well, it's going to be the same thing with your characters. You'll get to a certain point using experience where you'll get gated. And in order to progress a level, you're going to need to feed them a specific cake that will have used the ingredients that you would have created to get to that level. Building, construction, and upgrades. I'm super, super excited about this one. This is where I'm looking to build in the rarity model. And hopefully, if the team are happy with my proposal, we will have common to legendary buildings and you will be able to level up. So when you start the game and you've got your farmer's hut, your farmer's hut won't really be able to do much. But as you upgrade your farmer's hut and it allows you to do more things, the same with the workbench. In the workbench, a level 1 common workbench is only going to allow you to craft a few limited items. If you want to craft, let's say, the foreman beaver or whatever it may be, you will need to be at a certain level to do that. Now, that's just an example, but you get the idea that as we move forward with bigger and better items in the future, you'll need bigger and better XP and land to be able to craft those kind of end game items. Okay, so tool crafting, tree and stone collection. Okay, these are kind of the things that you're going to learn in terms of the core game loops at the start of the game. Then what we'll do is once you have a concept of those things, we'll look into Web3 onboarding. The aim is to help onboard users and explain some core aspects of playing a Web3 game. A player will be able to begin playing without any sort of Web3 setup. As they play the game, there will be challenges that require them to take the next step towards the Web3 onboarding. Web3 can be complicated and intimidating. Our aim is to give them quick wins and a sense of accomplishment to encourage them to continue on this Web3 onboarding process. Players will connect their MetaMask wallet. After 15 minutes of gameplay, a user should be fairly engaged and should be asked to set up their MetaMask. It's a fairly simple task that once done, the user should feel a sense of accomplishment and the idea that Web3 is not that difficult. After 30 to 60 minutes of gameplay and engagement, the next task is to mint a new piece of NFT land. The aim is that by this stage, a user is engaged in the game and not intimidated by the prospect of Web3. And at this point, we try to ramp them to get Matic into their wallet. Okay, so that's kind of the onboarding process. At the end of the learning stage, you should have 4 complete plots of land to make a square. Okay, and you should have connected your MetaMask wallet and you should have been able to mint your farm. So if you can imagine the first 4 levels of your farm, the first 4 squares of your farm, effectively being level 0. Okay, so the progression at level 0, and that would just remain as level 0. So you would expand your land from 1 square to 2 to 3 to 4. All of those initial 4 expansions would be level 0. And then when you mint your 5th piece, that's when you would actually mint your farm. That would be level 1. So imagine the first 4 squares as like the learning stage. Then we would move on. Okay. So then let's look at the regular gameplay. Okay, we talked about the user journey from the learning experience. Now let's look at the regular farmer. During the regular stage, a player should have sufficient understanding of the core game loops, and at this point, we take the training wheels off. A player now has the freedom to follow their own path to expand their land, discover resources, construct new buildings, and more. They must make strategic decisions and have a sense of control. We now explore more advanced crypto concepts and integrate them into the Web3 community. So the time frame is approximately between 5 to 20 pieces of land, which will take you about 2 months. I want you to understand the concept. It will take approximately 1 month to acquire 10 pieces of land. It will take approximately 1 month to acquire 10 pieces of land. Okay, so here's for the gameplay. Animals, decorations, minting rare items, withdrawing, depositing, and interacting with the secondary markets. Let's look at Web3 literacy. During the regular stage, we will introduce quests and challenges to further increase the player's involvement in the Web3 community. We want you to understand all of the ecosystem as a whole. So, how to mint an item in the Goblin Village, how to link your farmer's profile picture to a social media platform, how to show you how OpenSea works and to guide them to understand the crypto assets that are owned by them, how to create a DeFi quest, i.e., minting a magic LP token. So, this is where we're going to get you to understand the wishing well, liquidity, how Goblin Village works. We're going to really sort of drive you into the concept here of how NFTs work. Now, a lot of you already know this. A lot of you are like, yeah, but we're already established Web3 degens. We're already, I want you to understand that the outcome of this game is not just for you as an experienced crypto user. It's for somebody new. Try to remember when you first came into this space, the first time you ever heard about crypto, the first time you ever created your MetaMask wallet. I don't know a single person that can tell me that the very first time they got into DeFi, they wasn't overwhelmed or intimidated. Even if someone held your hand and guided you through the process, I know myself. The first time I ever put money into my MetaMask wallet and went onto a DEX, it there were nerves. There were nerves. And so we want to make sure that we guide these people coming into this space so they feel safe and so that they can learn and they can understand. And we have to master that. If we can master that, we can master anything. And talking of mastery, the mastery stage is once a user has aligned their mental model and strategic guide for navigating the game. They have a solid understanding of the Web3 ecosystem and have developed their own strategic guide to their gameplay. They are engaged in advanced quests and community events that help solidify their identity in the community. A player in this stage feels a deep sense of accomplishment and pride in their progress, and gameplay extends. Okay, so gameplay extends autolic and emergent behavior. Now, this is where you are. A lot of you are in the mastery stage already. And this is what I said earlier about feeling sad because you're not going to experience the same learning and regular gameplay modes that a new user will. And I think there's a sense of adventure in going through the journey. And I kind of feel like you've been robbed from that because you're already here. So that's a downside to you already being here. But the upside is you've already got resources and assets and experience, and you've been playing the game and you've been a part of the journey. So that's the trade off. So you're already in the mastery phase. So a lot of the learning and the regular won't really apply to you. However, you will still need to go through this. And let's be honest, it's not a problem. There was some conversations last night where people were saying, I've been playing this game. I know this game, and I've been playing this game for a long time now, and I don't want to go back into a learning mode or a tutorial mode. I'm far too important for that. Now, okay, I hear you, but my question is, why are you here? Because if you're not willing to go through the learning phase of the game, are you even interested in the game? Like, if you're not willing to play the game, then my question is, are you lying? Are you telling people that you're interested in a game, but really you're just interested in how many resources you can get and sell? Is that it? Are you telling us? Are you telling us that you really want this to be a good game, but actually you couldn't give a shit? You just want to cash out and make money? Hmm. Are you? You're just here to yield potatoes? Hmm. You little potato connoisseur? And you part of the character cartel? Yes. Hmm. I see you. This is a game, ladies and gentlemen. This is a game first. Okay? So you will have to play the game. And so for those people that cry and are unhappy about having to go through a gameplay mode because we've taken away your NFTs and you can't use them, deal with it. Okay? It's a game. You'll get them all back. Don't worry. Anything that you've started, anything that you have at the moment is safe. You own it. It's yours. We're not taking it away from you. You just won't be able to use it in the learning phase. Okay? Let's be honest, you won't have any space for it anyway. You're not going to have enough land to put your buildings down. Let's just say that it's going to be let's say that when you get to the stage of discovering hemp, that'll unlock a whole new aspect of the game. I'm only interested in real life money from this game. Then goodbye, my friend. You're in the wrong place. This is a game. It's a game first. And one of the things that we'll do over time is really drive that message home. We've been doing it a lot, and I think we've done a very good job of being open and fair and and communicated this. Any profits that come from selling your assets should come down the line. And here's the thing. This is my job. My job is to make it where you don't want to sell your assets. My job is going to be to make it where you would rather invest and continue to grow because you have a sense of achievement and fulfillment that you enjoy. That when you're given the choice of, I can cash out today, but I could also upgrade that building. I could cash out today and take some money out of the game. But there's this new thing I want. That is where we want people to be. In a way, I'm not promoting addiction, but we do want you to be at that stage where you're not addicted, but where you're invested into the game. And I think that's important. Not everything in the game will have value, not financial value. So, okay, we've talked about the user journey. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? When people get out of the mentality of earning money from playing a game and they actually start to enjoy a game for a game, you'll start to find a much healthier economy. Do you know what? I wouldn't worry. My partner says the same thing. In fact, I got my partner's best friend into Sunflower Land. So my partner was speaking to her best friend, and she was like, "Oh, all Steve ever does is talk about Sunflower Land." So she phoned up her best friend, and all her best friend did was talk to her about Sunflower Land. And then my partner come and had a go at me. She was like, "I've just been talking to my best friend, and all she's talking about is Sunflower Land and getting these chickens." It is, I'm telling you, and my daughter loves it, and my daughter's like, she actually, do you know what? I got a message from my daughter. She's on holiday at the moment. She's out the country. She's playing games on her phone because that's what she does. You know, when you're at the airport and you're traveling. You know, my daughter's like 13, so she's traveling. And one of the things that she said to me is, how's Sunflowerland going? Because for those of you that don't know, if you're inside the game and you click on the frog, there's a frog called Lily the Frog. Well, my daughter's called Lily, and she loves frogs, and so she worked with Adam to be able to create the frog. Which absolute credit to Adam. It was an incredible conversation. I was such a proud dad to see my daughter kind of interact in that way. And she turned around to me the other day and she was like, "Oh," she said, and she's a teenager, right? So this is typical teenage girl. She was like, "Oh, you're actually kind of cool, Dad." It was like it was so hard for her to say that. You let your daughter travel with you at 13. She's not traveling with me. She's with her mum. So yeah, it's crazy. But she was like, oh, it was so resentful that she said it. But she talks about Stardew Valley. She talks about Farmville. She loves those games, and so to have her playing Sunflowerland is amazing. Yeah, because like I'm still dad, right? Dads aren't cool. All right, let's go into the next section. So we've talked about a lot so far. So anything around? Thank you for mentioning the frog. I can't stop clicking it now. Now you know. There's a lot of there's some stuff coming for the frog. Let me just say that there is a PR that's been created. I'm not going to go into too much detail right now because I don't know if it's been mentioned, and I know that the person responsible for this was keeping it under wraps. Um, I Oh, don't worry. The moment that we can start throwing poo at other players, I will be absolutely inundating her farm with poo. The moment we can start throwing poo at each other, that she's my first target. Telling you now. My daughters aren't allowed to travel with me until they're 28. And even then, I've got to be there. My daughter's probably more mature than I am, to be fair. My farm will be painted brown. I like brown. It will just help me fertilize my crops. Uh, all right. So let's go into visuals and audio styles. Okay, I want to talk about this. She often listens to the live streams. Sunflowerland employs a friendly and playful aesthetic. Even the evil characters of the game are light and funny. The aesthetic flows into the visuals, the audio, and the narrative design. So, context. Sunflowerland is set in a medieval age, but puts a playful twist on the dark and gloomy that most games use. The game does not focus on a fantasy aspect, but does have an air of mystery, an alternative universe concept, i.e., talking animals, mysterious creatures, etc. Visual style. The visual style was inspired by the base asset pack Sunnyside by Daniel Diggle. When designing new gameplay elements, we encapsulated a range of key aspects which made the asset pack our choice from the start. Is an incredible designer. Unfortunately, does not want to be associated with NFTs, but because we license and paid for the assets, we are allowed to use them, which is why any NFTs in the game are community built only, and any gameplay assets are Sunnyside. Heavily pixelated. The game gives the idea of simplicity. This gives the idea of simplicity in the game. The less pixels, the better. We are going for a pixelated effect, but not an arcade style. Stubby objects. To give a playful effect, the majority of objects and characters in the game are short and fat. You can think of characters in the game as dwarves. Buildings, trees, and resources also follow this pattern, and as a result, often mean unrealistic proportions. An NPC, for example, may be the same height as a house. Shapes are always whole in nature, i.e., no floating parts, and employ almost no negative space, i.e., the design should fill up the whole object without any empty space. For example, the tree shape does not have extending branches. Instead, it is compact and a single shape. Grid squarish shape. All objects essentially fall onto a chess like grid in the game. This tends to the idea that objects should be squarish in shape and avoid rounded shapes. Objects are distorted from realistic proportions to meet this size. A tile is 16 by 16, and hence object designs should fall within this size. Animations. I'll go through the questions in a few seconds. Animations are used to breathe life into the game, but not disrupt gameplay. They should follow basic animation principles and employ the physics of the game. Since players are stubby, they cannot jump high, and players are strong, however, and can throw around tools with ease. Where possible, an animation should employ a sense of fun. Good examples are the farting goblin and the chicken laying a massive egg. I will admit, the first time the chicken laid an egg, I felt sorry for the chicken. I looked at that egg, I looked at that chicken, and I thought to myself, that's not nice. It didn't sit well, but I can understand and see by reading this with everything that's been said, it's now quite, I laugh at it now, but I do. I love it. It's so cute. And when that chicken, like the only thing missing from that chicken as the egg is laid is the facial. It needs a shocked facial expression as the egg comes out. Kay says, I'm a little bit scared the big effort and time and dollars that's put into leveling tools, etc., will be underwhelming in a land expansion, it looks. Or maybe I misunderstood. Will there be something done for the effort and dollars, but it is in no way a big difference with someone that never invested in leveling the tool skill? So this is something, and this is a very good point, something that we've mentioned a lot. In beta, there's no guarantee of anything. Anything that's invested at this stage of the game doesn't mean it's going to give you an advantage or a head start. You're just early and you're playing the game. Now, if you own your NFT assets, the NFT assets themselves are rare. But if you've been leveling skills and tools, and if you've been putting money into owning resources, they'll have value. They will have value, and the skill that you've acquired so far will transfer over. So you will have more skill. So when it comes to the gated areas where you need to level up, you'll already be there. So where other people will have to work to level up, you'll already have that skill. So you'll have a check mark that will get you further faster, but it's not going to give you a head. You're still going to have to go through the process. You'll have to go through the process. It just means that if I get to, let's say I want to get from level 1 to level 2, and I need 100 XP, and I've got 10,000 XP, then I don't have to go and wait to farm those crops. It's already done. And so I might be able to get to level 20 before I need to start working. And obviously, everything you do as you work as well will just add to that. So you'll kind of have a head start in that sense, but you'll still have to go through the process with everybody else. It just means that when you get to the gated areas, you'll technically already have the key, if that makes sense. Perfectly fine. Nice. Okay, so let's have a look at the color palette. The game relies on it's a 32 color palette. The game relies on a 32 color palette, which is, there's a link here. I'm not going to share the link, but you'll be able to see it. It's on Lospec. It's been posted there. It does not mean you must only use these colors, nor does it mean that using these colors means a piece of art fits the game. A piece of art typically picks 2 or 3 of the base colors of this palette and combines it with variations in shades and complementary colors to add interest. There is no strict color guideline. Most of the choices are based on the subjective feel of the art in the game and if it fits into the overall style. The hue, the saturation, and the shading must fit with the current style that is used in the game. Basically, if you're going to design an asset, make sure it fits into the game. To understand how to use variations, play around with a range of color tools, explore color theory, and watch a video. Here's a link. Peloton is a useful tool to find variations based on these core colors. Using a color palette does not mean the art meets the design requirements. You must apply a consistent mixture of colors, hue, and saturation that is being used throughout the game. So this is really for people that want to get involved and help out. Borders. Characters use a dark black border for their outlines to help draw attention to them. This is useful for NPCs and call to actions. Other objects, such as resources, buildings, and decorations, use a dark colored border based on the object's primary color. And when you interact with these, you can see like the black outline, and then when you hover over, there's a white outline. This means it can be interacted with. So anything that's interactable, you can see. If you can interact with it, it has a white outline. And this helps as you're scrolling around the map. If you want to be able to find something to interact with, you can see it. Okay. Audio style currently in progress, so we'll have that soon. Let's look at the narrative. All right. Not a lot here at the moment, but a little bit to go through. The game is largely social and involves communities being built around a shared understanding of the game. The narrative should always leave an air of mystery and allow the players to interpret it how they see fit to engage in their community, i.e., for example, Team Goblin or Team Sunflower. We gave you the basic construct of the teams, but you have built your own communities around those. At the moment, you've got this fun rivalry between the goblins and the sunflowers, and you're building out your own communities around that. We are not a story based game. Storytelling is purposefully used for onboarding quests and community building. Okay, we are not a story based game. Storytelling is purposefully used for onboarding, quests, and community building. So we will tell stories, but we're not a story based game. It's not like there's a chapter 1 to a chapter 10. Okay, it's open ended, and we will continue to add lore and stories into the game, but the game itself, the core game loops, they will evolve outside of the story, and the story will weave around them. Less is more. When employing fictional elements, be vague and leave an air of mystery that leaves the player to come up with their own understanding. As we move towards crowdsourced content, designers should be able to extend their interpretations of the loose boundaries that we have set. We are a framework. Remember, as a community built game, the design, the audio, the animations, and the story will be created by the community, and we've experienced that already. We've experienced that already where you've already been creating so many incredible designs, tools, developments. We've got the lore channels, the gameplay, all of these incredible things. I can tell you right now, I don't remember who came up with the idea of the molehill. We were talking yesterday and somebody mentioned the molehill. I don't remember who that was. But that's something that you'll see in the game. That we're going to build that into the game. So if you own all 3 moles, they will live on the molehill. Now, that was talked about yesterday by a member of the community. And so this is a perfect example where we want to create a framework, but we want to leave you open to interpret it how you wish. So, we will employ an overarching timeline, but when designing quests or fictional characters, the goal should always be to leave enough room for players' interpretation. So here's the backstory. Tensions are high in Sunflower Land, and an air of mystery surrounds the relationship between the goblins and humans. Rumours of a great war are known throughout the land, but the exact cause and the outcome have been lost throughout history. Goblins form the typical antagonist of the narrative and become a nuisance to farmers. However, they have access to rare and mythical items that the humans rely on. How will this dynamic play out? I'm reading the backstory. For those of you that are curious, there it is. And if those of you that are looking at just joining us, there's the link. All right, let's continue through the docs. We've talked about the narrative. Okay, we've talked about the user journey. We've talked about the visual and the audio styles, and we've now talked about the narrative. Do you feel like you have a better understanding of Sunflower Land? Do you feel like this helps? You were talking about making a big social place where we can meet other farmers. Yes, this is definitely possible. This is something we can look at in the future. Definitely something we're looking at. Just scrolling back through some of these questions. It would be nice to have an area where we can donate 1 USDC exclusively for the development and maintenance of the game, and put the um, of course put the terms that we are accepting that we are donating. You can do this already. This already exists. It's not in USDC. It's in Matic. That shows how much has been already donated. And when you reach a goal, do something good with the game and decide to give the community the destination of that donation. Okay, I see what you're saying. So at the moment, we have that set up in the form of the homeless man. So if you come down here and you click on your homeless man, you can buy the team a coffee. Sunflower Land is run by a small group of passionate developers who are 100% sleep deprived. You can send us a donation of Matic, with which we can drink more coffee, stay awake longer, pumping out more awesome features. Every bit counts. So this is effectively what you're talking about. Instead of 1 USD, it's currently 1 Matic, and you can choose. So you could work out like what is 1 USD, and you could donate like 5 Matic, for example. So that's an example of this. But I like the idea of being able to show how much is being donated and then to use that. That's something that we can build out in the future. But definitely there is that. It already exists. If you want to contribute towards the game, I mean, you already are by playing the game. You're already contributing with the sync fees, and with later on what we'll do with the trading and the marketplace. I know that there's the black market and there's these third-party resources that you can use, but in the future, what I'd hope is that you'll use the in-game resources, because by using them, you're fueling the future growth of the game, and so that's important as well. All right, I don't know if we're going to allow chatting in game, because that brings a whole complexity around protecting um, people that are underage or vulnerable, and things, and there's a whole form of moderation, and we need to make sure that there's no hate speech and things. So we currently have Discord for that right now. That will stay as it is for now, but in the future it may well change. We'll see. All right, let's move on to gameplay loops. Okay, we're going to talk about this now. This is a little bit more in depth, this section. Hopefully you're still with us. This is quite long today. There's a lot to go through. Gameplay loops. You are looking at an active work in progress. This will change over the coming weeks and is missing core information. Please be aware. This is being recorded. This section explores the core game loops that the game employs. This does not explore the inner workings or inner working parts of each resource in the game. When designing features for the game, we approach it from the lens of a balancing loop. So more than a linear or reinforcing loop. So reinforcing versus balanced loops. Traditional games often use what is called a reinforcing loop, otherwise known as a positive feedback loop. The more you achieve, the easier it will be to continue achieving. A good example is Monopoly, where the more money you receive, the more properties you buy, and hence the more money you receive. This loop continues until a player dominates and finishes the game. This is widely used in traditional games and is an easy way to engage players. The issue with Web3 is that we are designing a real world economy that cannot accommodate these snowball effects. When designing a loop, we need to ensure that there is a balancing mechanism that ensures a resource stops compounding and plays nicely into the Sunflower Land ecosystem. The beta design of Sunflower Land employed many linear reinforcing loops to drive early engagement. This process is not sustainable for continued growth of the game. Okay, let me just repeat this because it's important. The beta design of Sunflower Land employed many linear reinforcing loops to drive early engagement. This process is not sustainable for the continued growth of the game. So let's look at core game loops. Below is the design of a core gameplay loop. I'm going to post this into Farmers Chat for those of you that are listening. Below is the design of a core gameplay loop that ensures significant sources and sinks exist that will prevent inflation, lead to high engagement, and create a sustainable economy for years to come. So the idea is that you have your land and your farmer. Okay, you will collect You will use your farmer on your land to collect natural resources. The resources will be used to expand your land, and the food will be used to cook to increase your farmer. Already made a donation in Matic to help the game. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Nando. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. It doesn't go to me. It goes to it just goes into the treasury right now. So this is your game. You're involved in the game, and whilst you don't get to control the treasury at the moment, you trust the team to make those decisions on what is best for the game, making the right hires, making sure that they get in the right uh, software and hardware, making sure that they have enough runway to do the things they need to do. So hopefully, you look at many games that start out, they normally start with investing, and then the investors need to think about how to get their money out, which normally affects the economy. We don't have that in this game. You are the economy. You're the board of directors. You own this game. Okay, so the fact that you're investing in this game with your time and your money, and I'm not just talking about the assets you're buying, I'm talking about the donations that go into the treasury. That all helps to build the game. We're not going anywhere. We're here for the long term. And I think you all know that by now. So, this is giving you a much more in depth look at the game. Are you enjoying this, by the way? Can you let me know in the chat? Is this useful? Is it helpful? Are you learning? Do you feel like you understand the game at a deeper level now? Um, what do you think about this new section in the docs? Please give me your feedback. It's important to know that this makes sense to you. And also, me narrating and talking through this, does it help that I go through this with you rather than you just reading it yourself? It is available on the docs. You can go and look at this yourself. And I recommend you do take some time to go through this. Okay, so the key sources we have in the game at a high level are land and the farmer. The size of your land and the level of your farmer influences how many resources you can collect in the game. If a player wants to collect more, they must reinvest resources into their land and their character. Okay, so a lot of you saying it's very helpful. Community engagement is important. It's really cool to learn the thinking and the back end. Definitely helps. Nice. Okay, cool. As long as it helps, I'll keep doing it. I just appreciate it's long. There's a lot to go through here, but this will be on YouTube with subtitles, including all of the ramblings that we talked about and the sidetracks. But I like it. I like that we're engaged. Okay, so let's look at the design methodology. So hopefully the core game loop that makes sense. You've got your land, which you will expand with natural resources, and you've got your farmer, which you will expand with food, like real life. You want to grow, you need to be eating healthy. You want to increase your land, you need resources to do that. So again, makes sense, right? Right, you've just got yourself a 1 day timeout just for promoting. Please don't do that. And I'm going to delete that message. All right, so design methodology. When designing gameplay, we not only need to think about how it fits into the gameplay loops, but also the team's design loops. Ideally, we're looking for mechanics which fall under our key gameplay loops. These include resource collections, burning resources, waiting X amount of time, collecting resources. So the resource collection you will burn. So for example, if you want wood, you first need to burn an axe, then you need to wait an hour, and then you can collect more. Okay, so that chopping down a tree is a great example of a resource collection. Okay, you use wood, or in this instance, you use SFL to make an axe, but then you burn the axe, you get the wood, you wait some time, and then you can do it again. And when you progress to a pickaxe, you burn some wood with some SFL, and then that's how you will grow your resources. For land expansion, you will burn resources to craft land. So it will be a case of you need some wood and some stone, and eventually you'll need other resources that you'll be able to acquire, and that will be what you use to move forward. So then we have crafting. In order to craft something, i.e., for example, an axe, you will need to burn some resources. You'll need to burn some wood to make an axe, etc., etc. So the idea is that at the moment, if you wanted to go across to the game, you go to the crafting. If I wanted to make an axe, it just costs one SFL. Well, in the future, this could well change. The cost of an axe in the future may not be 1 SFL. The cost of a wood in future may be that you need some wood and some stone. But the idea is that the wood and the stone would come, there we go, from bushes and pebbles. There we go. So a bush and a pebble, you can pick up a pebble and you can forage a bush. But the concept and the idea is that it would maybe give you zero point 0.1 wood. And you would be able to do that maybe every 10 minutes. So it would still take you some time to build up to an axe, but it's something you would be able to do. We really like the idea that the SFL is used for land expansion and not the core tools. We want you to be able to craft your core tools without the requirement of burning SFL. But we really like the idea that the SFL is used for you to be able to level up your characters and your level. So there'll be a new burning mechanism introduced in the land in the way that you expand, which we don't currently have at the moment. But it would also make things like axes more accessible for people that are kind of working towards growing at an earlier stage. It's not that we're going to get close to that game style. We're already there. We're already there. If you look at land expansion, you can already see. If you look at a basic land, you have 2 pebbles, a bush, and a tree. So we're already there. The idea is you would forage the bush, you would pick up the pebbles, eventually you would make an axe to chop down the tree. All right, so this is that progression system. A bit like if you imagine with Million on Mars, where you go into the game with nothing and you can scavenge the land. And that's the way of starting. This is our way of starting. You can scavenge, you can forage the land. Don't starve alone gameplay. I don't know what that means. Could you I think I misunderstand what you mean by that. Is there a way that you could explain what you mean by that? But yeah, the concept here is that even with nothing, you would be able to start. It would take you time. You'll have to invest your time. It would probably be like a 30-minute or a 10-minute or a 30-minute cooldown or something like that before you can do it again. But the idea is that you would over time be able to build up to that. It probably won't be 30 minutes. It'll be like 10 minutes. But what we want is we want you to be able to acquire the resources, but not abuse this. It's meant to be as a starting thing. It's not meant to be something like, how when you play a game and you start collecting common resources and then you become and like you're level 1, every resource you collect. And then you get to like level 100 and you don't have the space and you just walk past the common stuff and go, I ain't picking that up. It's kind of like that. Oh, don't starve alone gameplay. Okay. Ah, it's a game. Ah, survival game. I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is a bit like Rust. Okay, yep, yep, yep. Okay, I've not played this, but I see what you're saying. I'll actually check this out. I'm going to bookmark this right now. Thank you. Um, I haven't seen this game, so I'll chuck that onto the board. I don't think it's going to be so much surviving the elements, but definitely okay. Yeah, there's like if you ever played a game called Rust, same thing. You start on a beach naked with a stone, and you have to bash a tree and then bash a rock. There's a lot of games that take this, and it's definitely one of the elements of gameplay. It's one of the loops that we're looking at. It's the resource gathering. All right. I remember I bought it a few years ago, but didn't touch it for years. Yeah, don't touch it. Yeah, Rust. See, you remember Rust? Love Rust. I've been playing Rust since the early alpha days. Harvest Moon, absolutely, all of these kind of games. So Rust is brutal. It's one of the most brutal games I've ever played. But anyway, there's a yeah, there's a there's a rabbit hole we're not going down. Not in this stream. Okay, so let's have a look. We're getting back to where we was. So we've had a look at the core game loop. Let's have a look at the design. Okay, so we know what we need to do now in terms of the resource, the land, and the crafting. So keeping to these domains enables us to build upon pre-existing patterns to test, to tweak, and to integrate them into the system in a rapid, agile approach. This ensures that we can continue to release exciting gameplay on a frequent basis. This does not mean we won't explore other concepts, such as a combat system, but we need to master our current gameplay mechanics before embracing these. Let me reiterate this point. It is not that we will not explore a combat system, but we need to master our current gameplay mechanics before embracing these. What does mastery look like? I was always told that to master something, you need to invest 10,000 hours into that said thing. So, there is the possibility of future combat mechanics into the game to be able to PvP and fight each other, but we need to master the current gameplay, the economy, the mechanics first. This is going to become an RPG. It is like an RPG style game. It's like an RPG farming simulator. But just please understand that any concepts will take time and not to expect them quickly. But also know that we're not close to the idea of building something. So, when designing a new resource or a sink, we typically take the following approach: the concept design, the gameplay loop design, i.e., how does it balance, the spreadsheet design with the data, release it with the conservative value, gather data, tweak, and make the sources more valuable. Okay? The important section here is gathering data and tweaking. There is no room for dogmatic approach in our design process. We must listen to the community, the data, and adjust the gameplay to meet the gameplay designs. We will always listen to the community. However, the community doesn't always know best. And you need to listen to me on this. You need to trust me. The community doesn't always know best because often the community doesn't have the data to make the decisions, or some opinions are made without first understanding the data. We need to ensure that when a decision is made, it is based on the data first, because the data is what protects the community. Then we need to make sure we listen to the opinion of the community. There is no point building something with incredible data if the community hate it. Okay, it's a community built game. So first is to protect the community and to prevent abuse. That is first. And then it is to ensure that the community are happy and like what is being done. Okay, those two things are very, very important. And that is what we do with our gathering our data so that we can see it. Now, again, when we launch something, we need to launch it into the game. We can't really test it. And so we have to make sure that anything that is launched won't abuse the economy. And this is a perfect example. So let's have a look at what Mahit has just written. I think there should be time boosters so we can harvest crops instantly with the help of boosters. Say we can earn 5 minutes to 1 day boost by doing some in-game quests. Now, here's a perfect example of how a community member has an opinion and an idea, okay, which is important to consider. But what we need to do is look at the data and say, what would happen if everybody had the ability to instantly harvest crops? What would that do to the economy? How would that affect the economy? And by looking at that data and modeling that example, is this something we should consider or is it detrimental? And we need to do that first. So even though the concept could be a good idea and it could be something to consider, by applying it to the game, we could absolutely destroy the economy of the game. So it's not that we're not open to looking. It's just if there are 100,000 of you, and let's say 10% of you, let's say 1,000, let's say it's 100,000 of you, and 10,000 of you have an idea, of which 1,000 of those ideas are good. All right. Already, that is an overwhelming amount of ideas, and you've all got incredible ideas. And so it's being able to filter through the noise to the ideas that we want to implement into the game. And that is why we're going to have like a voting style system. We tried it with Aha. It didn't really work out very well for us. But again, that's good feedback. We're trying to find that voting system where you can vote on your ideas. And currently, to do this, we're using GitHub. But what we're trying to do now is move forward with discussions. So if you go onto GitHub and look at discussions, there is actually a voting. You can vote for the idea of, oh, I like this idea, and you can upvote it. And if something has upvoting, then there's more and more conversation. So what we look at first is the votes. So if we're looking on GitHub, one of the things we're going to be looking at, and I'm going to post this. What this will do is we'll take into consideration the upvotes on the left-hand side and also the comments. Something like decreasing the matic value. Okay, this is a perfect example. You can see this has 6 upvotes and 18 comments, i.e. it's getting a lot of attention. Because this has a lot of attention, it's something that is more likely to get implemented before something else. All right, so this is a good example of how this is what we were trying to do with Aha. But we're moving it over to this now. So Wolfie says, if stamina appears in a form of water in the expansion of lands, and if weather is added to the game, then I have a little idea. What if during the rain there is a boost for all players, which increases the growth rate of plants by any percentage? In addition to this, a bucket of water can also be filled with some small part of it. This will make it easier, if this relief is of course needed, for players to earn more SFL. Let the rain be a phenomenon that occurs spontaneously, for example, 3 times a week or for 4 hours. This will not really ruin the economy, but not everyone will be able to take advantage of it. Because, for example, you plant carrots and wait for an hour, then you forget about the game for an hour. But because of the rain, carrots will grow, for example, 1.5 times faster. Only after an hour, you will come on farm and realize that rain is falling and you, in fact, could have come in earlier. Harvested the plant, something that grows harvested and planted something that grows longer. For example, you have different percent boost for each of the plant species separately. For example, you can increase wheat growth by 2 times by 4 hours. Okay. Yes. So to take this concept, and by the way, I love this concept. There is already, I believe, a proposal for this. If not, then it's an extension of this. I believe that this goes 2 ways. I believe that you can have rain, and rain could increase your crops. I also believe you could have floods, and I believe you can have droughts. So I believe it goes both ways. Now, I don't believe this would be a mechanic that we would bake in at set times, like 3 times a week for 4 hours. But I do like the idea that this is something that the developers can turn on or off when the economy needs to be adjusted. So if there is a mass production of resources and we need to slow down, or crops and we need to slow down, we could have a drought that makes it harder. And if it's a lot harder and people need to be able to farm more, we can have the rain that makes it quicker. So the idea that we have this weather system that can be controlled to maintain equilibrium within the community and the economy, I love this idea. And it is a work in progress. What I would recommend is that you add this to the GitHub. So I do believe the first thing I would do if I'm going to GitHub. Now, please listen. Please listen. This is so important. What I'm about to tell you is the difference between progress and halting progress. Please listen. What we cannot allow to happen. We cannot allow we cannot allow GitHub to be noisy. If GitHub becomes noisy, it will slow progress. So we need to keep the conversations inside Discord. This is important. This is very good. Wolfie putting that in Discord is perfect. What we then need to do is either Wolfie or somebody else needs to come to GitHub and first needs to search, is there a weather system? If I type in weather, are there any discussions around weather? No, there's not. Great. Okay, let's start a new discussion. Okay. Posted from Wolfie on Discord. I'm going to call this weather system. Okay. Now, the beautiful thing about this is that you can create as many discussions as you want. Okay. So there we go. I've done a search for similar. There was none. All right. I want to start. Why can I not? Why can I not start a discussion? Um. Okay. Oh, I've got to select a category. Sorry. Idea. You got to select a category. Sorry, my bad. So I need to put the idea. It's an idea for a weather system. Okay. Start the discussion. There we go. So now people can go here. All right. We've got this discussion. So I will reply to this. There you go. I've put that on there for you, Wolfie. Wolfie, you got some great ideas. Could Wolfie, rather than me, I've done this for you once, but Wolfie, could you go into Discord and put these into Discord, into the discussions? Are you okay to do that? Because I could do it for you, but I just feel like you've got some great ideas. You're obviously very creative. You've got some great concepts. Start the discussion. So the idea is we can talk about these things on Discord. This is great. All you need to do is just literally post what you put above into exactly what I've just done. Um, so you just go to discussions. This is on the video as well, so you'll be able to talk back on this. All you do is you go here. This is the place to go to, right? I'm going to pin it in Farmer's chat. Right, there you go, it's pinned. This is the discussions. So it says, and you'll see it in the screen. Now, you'll have to log in. I'm going to post a picture of this so you can see it. You see the green button and it says new discussions. You just click on that. That's all. You click on that. And then you'll get given this screen. And on this screen, you select a category, a title, and then you post in your discussion. And that's it. And if you want to record a video, you can. You don't need to. But you just start the discussion. And then people can come and vote. They can comment. We can have the conversation around it. And if it's a good idea and it gets traction, then this is something that people can look into. So your ideas in Discord are fantastic. Pitch them in Discord. Hey, community, I've got this idea. What do you think? If loads of people like it, great. I know that the community like this idea. I've got feedback from the community. Then I can go across to Discord and say, to GitHub, and I can say, I've got this idea. This is what the community say already. This is the feedback from the community. And we've kind of seen that already with some other things that have been talked about. We can see people that have done that. So a very, very good way to position a conversation around something is to be able to have that community engagement. It's very important that you do this. All right, let's go back. Let's get back to these gameplay loops. All right. So you may see a conservative value being released, such as a small boost or reward. The purpose is we can test amongst users and increase this to a level that is sustainable. It is much more difficult to reduce a boost or reward. Let's be honest. Nobody likes it when you take something away, but everyone likes it when you give them something. So the whole purpose of this is that we give small boosts that can be improved. So, okay, let me give you context. If you look at something like Nugget and go, oh, 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 Nugget, that boost is crap. I just spent all this time harming all of these resources to get a Nugget and it's crap. Don't worry. Don't worry. That's not what it's meant to be about. SteveMoan.mp4, right? So that's not the concept. That's not the idea. But the idea is more about you having this feature that we could then build out in the future. We can increase because it's much easier to say, hey guys, do you know what? We think the Nugget could use a boost. We're going to improve it. Much, much better for us to do that than for us to say, hey guys, look, sorry, we gave you like a 400% boost on your nugget. Well, we've got to take away 335% of that. People will go, no, you can't do that. Oh my God, this game is such a rug pull. It's not fair. Why are you taking away my nugget? Like, we don't want that. We really don't want that. So please, 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 please understand that if a boost can be improved, much easier and better to add than to take away. All right? Please, please understand. So, we're going to go into detailed design now. Okay? We've just talked about the basic design. Oh, I love it. I love you, chat. You're amazing. Right, we've talked about the basic design. Okay, this is for the simps. We're now going to talk to the intellectuals among you. Okay, so now we're going to look at a more detailed design. The following diagram explores how different gameplay loops fit together on a high level. Okay, the purpose of this diagram is not to demonstrate the sinks and deflationary aspects of the game. It is intended to give you an overview of the core game loops and systems. Okay, intellectuals, I'm out. I'm keen. I love you, man. All right, so we'll go through all of this in a minute. But let me just explain this diagram. Okay, so here we have. All right, I want to go through this now. It's going to take a little bit of understanding. Let's look at the left-hand side. Split this in two. Let's look at the left-hand side. We know we've got our land. Okay, we know that we've got our resources. We look at that core game loop. We've got our land, our resources, and we can expand our land. Okay, which increases our resources, which then expands our land. It goes around in an infinite loop. Okay, what we also have with our resources is, as well as expanding land, we can also use resources to construct buildings. Okay, now that will come from the land. But also on the farmer's side, we've got the farmer, okay, which we can use to produce food to feed the player to increase the farming or stamina, which is a loop. That's the core loop that we saw. But now we're also going to create SFL as a result of this. Now, that SFL can also be used to construct a building. So to construct a build, so to expand your land, you will only need resources from land, okay? And to increase your farmer, you will only need produce to food, right? So you'd have to make a choice with your produce. Do you turn that produce into SFL to cash it out, or do you level up your player? You have to make a choice. Also, if you're not going to level up your player, because let's say you want to construct a building, then you will need resources and produce, or the SFL from the produce. All right. The whole purpose of this, exactly, John, you have just hit the nail on the head. Rip multi accounts. There is 0 point in having a multi account using this system because it will punish multi accounts. This system is built for one account. All right. And so the purpose here is that you would take some resources, you would take the SFL from your produce, and you will use both of those to construct a building. All right. Looking at it from the same concept from land, land will create a resource. That resource will go into crafting an item, but you will also, from the farmer, need produce from SFL to craft an item. Okay. With the item that you've crafted, you can either send it to land or send it to farmer. You can, if you do that with the item, it's gonna go onto your land, which will be a decorative NFT. All right. So you take your resources with your SFL, you've crafted an item or an NFT that you've sent to your land, and you've now got your NFT on your land. Okay. Also, you can have produce with SFL and resources to craft an item. And instead of sending it to your land, so let me give you an example of some land NFTs. Okay. We have the OG potato statue. We have the potato bath. We have the mysterious head. All right. We have the water fountain. These are examples of crafted items that have been sent to the land. Okay. Now I want you to imagine a whole new aspect of gameplay where not only can you craft NFTs for land, you can also craft NFTs for farmers. Right? Understand that your land NFTs and your farmer NFTs are separate. Your farmer NFTs, in other words, are cosmetics. Cosmetics like a hat or a scarf or a pitchfork, something that you can add that will increase your farming ability. Okay, so your resources that you send to your land are going to be your boosts to increase your resource gathering, and your NFTs that you send to your farmer are going to increase your farming ability. Okay, and also there's going to be decorations. Does that make sense? Do you understand that? I hope I've broken that down for you. Okay, if you're in the farmers chat, do you understand that graph that I've just posted? I've broken it down. If we look at it bit by bit, you'll understand that on the left hand side, it's an expansion of that core game loop that we looked at. So let's go back and look at the initial. So we look at this basic version, right? This is the basic version. We've got two core game loops, the left and the right side. If you've got a smooth brain and you're here for the memes, all good. But I want to make sure that those of you that are listening that want to understand it, many of you have just switched off because Chicken's just distracted you and you've gone off because you've seen diagrams. But for those of you that are interested, hopefully this does make sense. Wolfie, you've started a discussion on GitHub. That's amazing. So this is just an expansion of that. And it makes sense to understand how this works, okay? So let's take a deeper dive into the farmer. Okay, we're looking at gameplay loops now. There's 3 gameplay loops: the farmer, the land, and the building. Okay, I want to look at the farmer. So let's do this. The farmer is a core gameplay element that enables a player to increase their efficiency, to unlock new buildings and items, and most importantly, to socialize. Okay, the concept design. A farmer will serve as an in-game character that helps you farm and also as your profile picture. All right? Come back, smooth brains. This is for you. The key difference with those profile pictures are that they are dynamic and will change as you grow your character. In essence, you will be able to shape your identity. You will be able to choose a certain skill path and send clothing and other NFT items to them to obtain buffs. As you grow your character and change clothing, it will dynamically update your profile picture. Will you be a farmer or a goblin? Now, I am going to explain this on a Twitch stream with the team later. What I'm doing right now with you is giving you the first version. This is like a run through. This is the alpha that you're getting right now. And the reason that I'm doing this is I want to see how this lands. Right now, just so that you're aware of how I'm thinking right now that what I've explained to you is a lot. This is a lot of content, and I think it's overwhelming. I think what I've done is I've just given you a fire hose, and some of you are trying desperately to drink from it. Other people are like, yeah, this is cool, I get it. But for some people, this is like mind blown. All right. I want you to understand this is an incredible way to build additional pivots in the game that allow us to expand so much further than what you currently understand within the game. I want you to kind of understand that this is about. I want you to understand what this is about. Okay, so let's stay on track. Let's stay on track. Okay, guys, ladies and gentlemen, let's stay on track. Let's talk about this because I've got to go in a minute and I want to make sure I cover all of this. So I want to make sure you understand. So, will there be an in-game marketplace in the future like Mom? Yes, in the future, but not now. Sunflower Land, a Lost World. Nice. Okay, right. So, concept design. Okay. Will you be a farmer or goblin? All right, so let's do this, chat. Tell me first and foremost, Let me see a sunflower or a goblin. What are you? What are you right now? Sunflower or goblin? Let's see. I want to see in the chat. Wow, there's a lot of goblins. There's a chicken. There's a lot of goblins. There's a chicken, but a lot of goblins. There's a couple of sunflowers. There's a few sunflowers. Okay, a few sunflowers. Wow, rip. There's a whale. Nice. I don't know. Was that a deer? Was that a horse? Okay. Wow. Okay. Chickens killing goblins. Nice. Okay. Interesting. All right. A lot of sunflowers. A lot of. Okay. Nice. Love it. Look at the Lambo tractor. Nice. There's a goat. Nice. Oh, Craig's confirmed. There's a helicopter. Nice. All right, ladies and gentlemen. This is cool. All right. Let's keep going. Let's have a look, by the way, because there's a lot of you in here as well. Who's in here? Let's give some shout outs. Who's in here today? I can see Just Jay's in here. Nice to see you. I can see Eeks is in here. Nando's in here. Let's have a look. Go through, see some of these people who's in here. John's in here. I can see Lee's in here. Love Wood. Do you now? Okay, I can see Jory's in here. Ardy's in here. Goblin. There's a goblin in here. There's a few McDonald's employees in here. This is quite nice. Steven's in here. Leon Andrews in here. I was playing Dota last night. I had a game of Dota as Huskar, and I dived into a 5-man team, and I just shouted over the microphone, "Leroy Jenkins!" It was just so perfect. I wish I clipped it. I wasn't recording. We've got I Am Legend in here. Sophie's in here. Hi, Sophie. How you doing? All right. No Diggity. We've got Wild So. There's so many people. Keen's in here. All right. Got some OGs in here as well. Got Elrond in here. Got Zoop. Nice. Got Chicken. Chicken's in here. McGoblin's in here. We've got Rhyme Goblin as well. I love that name. It's so good. Honestly, I love it. It makes me smile. Every time I see that profile picture from Ryan Goblin, I just genius. Dead Meat's in here. Oh, wow. Okay. Loads of you. Loads of people in here. All right. Nice. 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 Good to see you all, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see you all. And there's so many more as well. That's not everybody. It's just what's showing me at the moment. All right. Let's go back into the farmers chat. Hello, hello. I'm on TV. Nice. Escano, YouTube. Nice to see you. Lots of goblins. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk. Okay, let's carry on. So, we're talking about the farmer profile. There's going to be a few attributes to the farmer. Water. Okay. Water is going to be stamina. That will decide how many actions can a farmer perform. Okay. Now, initially, water was thought of as a concept for crops, watering your crops. However, water, like food, okay, is what is needed for a farmer to survive. You need to eat and you need to drink to survive. So water is stamina for the farmer, okay, not for the crops. Okay, skills. Certain skills. What's water? Well, it's either water or water. Depends where you're from, mate, innit? All right, if you're from like East End of London, it's water, innit? All right, if you're from Essex, you say water. You don't say water. There's no T in water. It's water, innit? Yes, bruv. So, water. We'll say it in a posh British accent. Water, okay, is stamina. How many actions can a farmer perform? Okay, skills, certain buffs, and experience. All right. Yeah, that's it. Chicken's got it. Hey, water boy. Water boy. That's kind of how I feel like some of these farmers are taking in this information. It's a bit like that dog. Ah, love it. Okay, so clothing. Let's talk about clothing. Each farmer NFT will have a unique address on the blockchain. Okay, listen up, ladies and gentlemen. This is important. Each farmer NFT will have a unique address on the blockchain where you can send tools, clothing, and other in-game boosts. Very much like what your bank does for your land, your farmer will also have its own unique address. Someone's saying, so basically we're doing martisans, but for farmers. Well, this has kind of been built already. We've been building this out for a long time. So it's kind of, it's the way the game was always going to go. So what they're doing with martisans is a